welcome to another episode of Hourglass. We're back into episode 4, and I want to introduce the fabulous special guest, Voyant. Sorry, I was supposed to say your last name first. What's up, Claire? How you doing?
Hey guys, it's me, Voyant, otherwise known on Instagram as Claire.duh.
Ooh, yes. So everyone on Instagram as well as on Twitch, feel free to ask questions for Claire or myself. I will mention on Instagram, you are pretty far away from us, so if you really have a die-hard question for me to ask Claire, go on my Twitter at l.shima_model and go ask me. Otherwise, everyone on Claire's Instagram, that is up to Claire. She wants to walk all the way over there to go grab it and look at it. That's on her. But otherwise, I will ask a few questions. And like I told you earlier before, if any questions that I ask or other people ask for you, if you feel uncomfortable at any point or something feels inappropriate to you, just let me know and we'll move on. Otherwise, just have fun. This is like a casual thing. We both know we went through a lot today, so we're kind of like in a chill vibe mode and not like stressing or anything along those lines. Let me switch off to, so people actually can see both of us. So,
I'm here.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
here.
Make
Make sure you actually have your mic round
hold
your
it like
face,
this?
just in case. It'll still catch your voice, but you never. I even forget myself to like get closer to this mic. It's kind of always a weird thing. So Claire, are you originally from Detroit?
Yeah, I grew up actually in the suburbs, so like I always tell people, if you're not familiar with the Metro Detroit area, most people know the movie 8 Mile.
Yes.
With Eminem, that's like kind of the borderline of Detroit. And I grew up on 12 Miles, so a little bit outside of the city's inner ring suburbs.
So from an outsider's perspective on Detroit itself, because technically you didn't live in the city from 8 Mile downwards, were you nervous or did you have any negative reactions towards the city of Detroit, basically?
Yeah, so I grew up at 12 Mile, and then when I was 18 looking for colleges, I was really interested in Detroit just because I was being the typical teenager and everyone was telling me like, Detroit is a horrible place, be careful when you go down there. Really, I had only gone down for Tigers games, and I ended up with a scholarship to Wayne State, and I was like, okay, I'll do it. What is all this hype about? What is all this fuss? And I moved here 6 years ago, and I've been here ever since.
So you got a scholarship to Wayne State. Did you actually get a degree, or was it something that was like a little test and then you kind of like quit after that?
Yeah, I actually have 2 degrees, so both bachelor's degrees, one in political science and the other in Slavic studies.
Whoa, what? You're literally using the brain that I don't even touch at all, usually, roughly around. What basically got your mind into those degrees, like into that direction?
I just always knew that I wanted to get a degree in political science. My family was super political, and my dad, like, we were always talking politics at dinner. So I always knew that I wanted to do that. It was just like, to my family's surprise, that it ended up being more like women's issues and women's lib politics than like the typical conservative Republican politician that they wanted me to be.
So were they against it at all, or was it just something that they're like, oh, okay, kind of shocked that that happened?
No, they totally loved that I went to school for political science. They just really hated that I ended up being like a diehard progressive, feminist, women's lib person. So it kind of backfired for them. But.
So with that all happening and where you are now, what caused for this transition? And also tell others what you do now, like basically.
Yeah, so if you don't know me or you're not familiar with my work, I identify as a nude fine art and editorial model, so that's a lot.
It's a mouthful.
Nude, primarily most of the work that I do is nude, naked work. And I'm a fine art and editorial model. So a lot of editorial, people will know what that means. It's like magazine covers, a lot of fashion work in studios. But fine art, there's 2 forms. There's fine art photography, and then there's figure modeling. So figure modeling, I think, is what I do the most. Like, I do it multiple days a week, every single week, and that is posing for artists, either for paintings or drawings, for art schools, or sculptors too, which is really cool.
I've never personally actually posed for a sculptor. I've posed for a variety of different artists, and I know you've actually, that's how you met Francis, my boyfriend, was through doing figure modeling for him, and then also his associates like Andy Espinoza, and I'm sure, have you posed maybe for Don Kilpatrick maybe too? Yeah, so you basically, you know your ins and outs when it comes to modeling, and I really appreciate the work that you've created, because especially with that transition, how long have you been pursuing the modeling route?
So I started in really early 2015, but actually for about 9 months of me modeling, nobody knew. There was maybe like 3 or 4 people who knew that I was modeling. I was using a fake name, Voyant, which is an alias. It's not my real name, as many people become surprised.
It sounds like a real name, honestly.
Well, sometimes people ask me, like, what's your real last name? And I'll say, what's my real first name?
Yeah.
But, of course, like a lot of models have stage names, but then I really got into it and started opening up after I graduated last fall. So about October 2016 is when I really got into it. So really I've only been investing a lot of time into it for about 7 months, but overall about 2 years doing it more privately.
For someone to put themselves out there after something traumatic like that possibly happening to them, what was your mindset towards that? Like, was it something that you just immediately felt comfortable with, or was it just something that you had to work your way through?
Well, yeah, I felt like I had 2 options, and one was just to bury it deep inside me and not tell anyone. Even when I was trying to talk to close friends, we really don't have the vocabulary to express what happened, and we don't have any models in media or like learn how to talk about those things. Either if they happen to us or if we're trying to talk to someone who has had that experience. So that's what I initially did, was I really told like 2 people that it happened. And then I found myself just looking at nude art and looking at women who felt very confident and very safe in spaces where they were alone, primarily with a male photographer. And I was really envious of them, and I was envious of how they were portraying their bodies and how they felt like they were in safe spaces, and I felt like that was something that I wanted to try. So for the first 3 months that I was modeling, I just worked with one photographer. We just shot all nudes. We didn't have any with my face in them, and we really didn't even put very many out. And that was where I really kind of developed, just like a safe, intimate environment to work on.
That's actually a really great way of even introducing new models into the work of nude modeling, because a lot of people, and myself included, kind of just throw yourself into that. Like, I personally just randomly created a Model Mayhem account and posed with my first nude shoot with this random photographer in a Motel 6. It sounds really shoddy. It was perfectly safe. But yeah, it is honestly the average of how a lot of shoots like that end up happening. But it's weird because, or it's not necessarily weird, but that was how I got myself into the career. While hearing you talk about your direction, that's almost like what I now would recommend people giving it a shot in that direction. And it also sounds though you kind of benefited to have a friend that also shot images and to basically trust them with this content until you felt safe enough to post it on social media and stuff.
Yeah, and even if it's not nude, even if it's just lingerie modeling or just fashion, I mean, most models, the first 6 months you shoot, you look back now and you hate every single picture. I mean, it's either that you hated how you were styling yourself, doing your hair, you didn't know how to make facial expressions, and to be able to work with someone where you can look at those images and then not have to see them being publicly scrutinized immediately and develop your rapport and your style, I think is like the biggest thing that can make or break someone becoming a model.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. Now, with that mindset and how you mentioned, a lot of your nude photos, and even on actually your social media, your slogan is mostly nudes shot by mostly dudes.
Yeah, mostly nudes by mostly dudes.
What's your thoughts on how that basically is the norm in a sense?
Yeah, so I think people can be confused by it at first, but hopefully they go on and read my page a little bit and then it will make more sense. But the mostly dudes, which I'm sure you understand, just means that most photographers are men, and you're mostly just nude in environments with dudes constantly all the time. If you're shooting with a female photographer, like, you're lucky, and like, keep her around, because it's a completely different experience and it's very rare.
And what do you think is the cause for that, where photography is mostly dominated by men?
Well, I think it's kind of paralleled by the idea that, like, most models are female and most photographers are men. It's just this kind of, like, binary, or they call it, like, horizontal segregation. It's like most genders go into this thing and most other genders go into this. But I just think in general women aren't really empowered to be photographers. And I actually did photography when I was in high school. I actually won an award in high school for photography. And I was taking self-portraits of myself, and I asked myself, like, why am I not a photographer? Why did I never pursue that? But it just wasn't something that was, like, really pushed or valued in my family. And I see a lot of, like, younger men just, like, being praised for their photography, which is great, but it's just in a different way than families kind of push women to go into the arts.
Now, are you seeing any transition? I feel like transition is my word of the day right now. But have you ever seen basically a transition of females dominating the photography world? Or do you still think it's at a high where males are the key photographers and females are kind of still, like, lingering?
I think it's mostly men, but we do see this new, like, modelographer thing that's, like, this new trendy word, where a lot of models, like, they know how to treat women and they know what they're looking for, and models have a great understanding of how lighting works. So a lot of these professional traveling models will become photographers, but they're labeled that. They're labeled a modelographer, as if their photography is somehow lesser because they're also a model.
Yeah.
And I think social media is changing it in a little bit of a way that a lot of people are learning to do photography who never went to school for it at all, but I think it's still really dominated by men. And when you're going into really big shoots, it's always male photographers.
So with males being dominant and females kind of coasting along the lines, do you ever experience a different environment with shooting with a female versus a male?
Yeah, like, I wrote a little bit about this on my Instagram when I shot with Corsai, who actually you suggested for me to shoot.
She is lovely. Check her out.
The really typical thing is to go plan a traveling tour, to go to another city, and everyone will flake on you 75% at the last second. So I gave a shout out to Shima, and she told me, you have to shoot with this woman, Andrea Corsai. So I did end up shooting with her, and the first thing that she said when I got there, which no man has ever said when I was shooting with a male photographer, is, why don't you just take off all your makeup and shoot something really natural like that? And, you know, I trusted her because she was a girl, and I understood that, like, she wouldn't put me out without retouching, which some photographers do that, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
But she was like, look, everything's going to be fine. I'm not going to make you look bad. It's going to be great. And I trusted her, and we did it. And it was completely different and really vulnerable kind of editorial style shoot.
I'm so glad it worked out, too, on top of it. Like, when you told me about where you were going and just what was happening, I'm like, honestly, I don't even have a good client list in that city because of experiences of flakes and just people that I felt like weren't really worth your time, or even my time, honestly, as well. But for sure, the only person that came up to mind was Corsai. And I'm like, no, for sure, reach out to her, see if she's even open, because I know that girl's busy and, like, she does her thing.
Yeah.
And so, like, seeing her and a few other female photographers kind of taking that lead and taking that role as a very independent, dominant female photographer, it's always, like, rewarding, especially when I get to work with those individuals. It's like, I feel like it's a break almost. Like, I don't feel like I have to necessarily work as hard. It's a little bit more casual. And I don't also feel like basically intimidated. Have you ever felt, like, intimidated by male photographers?
Yeah, I felt a lot of times like I'm being judged, sometimes especially because I'm not the typical, like, beauty standard in terms of my measurements. And when I shoot with a woman, I don't feel that way at all, because I know that she knows what it's like to have a woman's body and how difficult it is to maintain it.
Oh, yeah.
But another female photographer I've worked with a couple times, a really talented young girl, her name is Heather Delaney. And I love working with her because she'll be like, oh, just suck in your stomach a little bit, just arch your back. Oh, you have, like, a little bit of fat in this place, so just lift up your arm a little bit. And I love that. Yeah, and that's something that a lot of male photographers really can't like vocalize or don't feel is appropriate. And some of them they might not really have the vocabulary to say. But working with a woman, you just have these added extra comfort things that they can express.
Now you mentioned her, Heather Delaney. You said kind of directing you on certain physical movements and positionings. Do you personally like a lot of direction when you're posing, or are you like one that doesn't rather do your own thing kind of thing?
So yeah, that's a good question. I feel like there's like two types of models, right? And there's like two types of photographers. Ones who like to give direction or whatever, and then ones who like to do their own thing. So I really like to go into a flow, almost more like a dance, but then I like photographers to say, stop right there, and then tweak me a little bit.
Yeah.
That's kind of like my sweet spot. But sometimes I feel like if they're giving you too much direction, first of all, they're missing out on your expertise that you've built yourself, but they also just aren't really letting you collaborate. I feel kind of like a mannequin at that point.
I honestly completely agree 100%. I always feel, because you say two, but I say there's at least 3 different directions as far as photographers like to take their work. One that just is carefree, you do your thing, I'm just going to shoot photos constant no matter what. Then you have the ones in the middle where you appreciate, and as well as I do, where you're allowed to do your poses and kind of be carefree, but also they have somewhat a kind of direction just to enhance it without having to be too much on you. So such as like Heather was saying, you know, suck it in a little bit and watch out for this fat somewhere on the body, and those people I appreciate a lot. And then the third ones are the ones that I really don't like as much, but I'll like grit my teeth and bite my tongue and just go for it. But the ones that are just constantly like, okay, do this, do that, do that. And the ones that I hate the most are the ones that will touch me, even if it's the most simplest pose. Like they'll be like I'll say I'm sitting here, and then they'll, instead of saying, hey Shima, can you move your arm up, they will physically come walk to me and then lift my arm up. And I'm like, first of all, and like a lot of them do ask permission, but in my history, there's a good amount that don't. Like, they don't respect my boundaries, and so they'll just go up to me and just touch me. And have you ever gotten in situations? It seems like you did.
I mean, unfortunately, I feel like it's about like 30% of photographers.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good. Actually, yeah.
And it's so unfortunate because I feel like models are so vocal that they don't like that, but for some reason it keeps happening. And one way that I felt is a good way to deal with this is a photographer kind of introduced this strategy to me, and he said, I'm not ever going to ask you if it's okay if I do something. I'm going to let you tell me when you want me to do something or when you want to take it to the next step. So for example, like we hadn't negotiated that we were necessarily going to do a full nude shoot. So I got there and we were doing some lingerie, and he said, so you tell me if you want to go nude. I'm not going to ask you because that could put pressure. And it's really just like enfranchising the woman and empowering the model to make those decisions. And I think when photographers are touching, it's because they don't take the time to just ask you to do something. Yeah. Like he could have really just asked you, can you move your arm up? And I mean, if a photographer kept saying, okay, can you move it up a little bit, up a little bit, up a little bit, eventually the model will just say, do you want to just put my arm where you want it?
When you realize you're not connecting enough to actually get what the full benefit of the pose is supposed to be. And I completely agree. And that photographer that mentioned that, I applaud him for that. Because that's actually, I don't think I've necessarily gotten a photographer that was so open about that and allowed me to break any boundaries that I may have felt uncomfortable in the beginning or whatever the case might have been. I mean, I might have had a few, honestly. But dealing with photographers that just, like, and it's also interesting because it's like, you hired me, or you either paid me or you decided you wanted to collaborate with me on a shoot, but you're not letting me do my job.
Yeah, it's like they think that you can't do it yourself. Yeah. And you're like, but why did you hire me? Or
exactly.
bring me on to this project? Yeah, did you think that was like every single photo, every other photographer was in charge of that, and none of it was me? Yeah.
And it's insane. I mean, I know it happens, and again, like I said, usually a lot of times I personally will just grit my teeth and just go with it. I know a lot of models will stand up and say fuck no, like, and they will stop the complete shoot completely. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, I have done it before, and it was someone I was working with the first time, and basically what he did was take a long sweater, and he was shooting from behind me, and he basically grazed my butt, trying to pull the sweater up to show off my underwear. And I was just like, what are you doing? Because there's no reason to do it. Like, I'm perfectly able to pull my sweater up, and he's perfectly able to, like, verbalize that he wants that done. So I was like, do you think it's okay to touch models? And he was like, no, I don't think that at all. I'm like, so why are you doing it, you know? And after a couple minutes, I was like, let's just take a break. And we got back to shooting, and about an hour later, he did the same thing again. And I was just like, we're going to have to wrap this up. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Was that a paid shoot or a trade?
It was a trade for, like, we had, like, a magazine that we had signed on with us to do a feature. Yeah.
God, this is one of those things, because I know a lot of people would probably disagree on my direction of just letting it happen. But if it's like way too uncomfortable where I literally freeze, then of course I'd say something. But like recently I had a shoot not too long ago, and the photographer did the simplest, like, oh, okay, drop your shoulder down, but like just like touching me right there. And I'm like, okay, but at the same time it was a paid shoot, and especially when it's paid shoots like that, that's when I'm like, I just want to get paid. I just want to move on. I just want to forget this ever happened and eventually just move on with my life and not really worry about it. I know there's a good amount of models and individuals and overall that will definitely disagree with me, and they're very open to that. I wish I personally was open to doing what exactly you did and just like swat them away or like immediately like react to it. I think personally with myself, I do not like confrontation that much. And so I try my hardest to, and especially also with modeling, since it is my business and my career, I want everyone to leave my shoots happy with who I am and like, okay, Shima's a really nice person, I would definitely work with her again, versus them being like, oh, well, she, had attitude just because I lightly put my finger on her. And I don't know, it's just something about me personally. That's how I organize my shoots. But hearing you and a few others have no issue being vocal when they feel uncomfortable is like uplifting to me.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'm a pretty like calm and collected person, but sometimes when you act calm and collected, it doesn't really get through to people. Like I said before, like, okay, you don't have to touch me, just like tell me that you want my shoulder to be moved and I'll do it. But 9 times out of 10 people don't respond to that. So I actually like feign being, I actually feign being like appalled that it's happening because it's the only way that people will respond. But I completely understand like why you do it, because it's the same way that women just deal with harassment in general. It's like, if you just are at a bar, you don't always want to be like, don't catcall me. Sometimes you just want to like have your beer, you know?
And catcalling is always not the funnest thing. I don't know why that even exists in the first place. Before we get super far, how long have we been into it? I'm going to give, so everyone, and Instagram stopped on me. See, that's why I wonder why it ended like that. Oh, well, we'll do it. 3, 2, it's usually supposed to go for an hour, but we'll see. I don't know. My phone is probably low on storage for whatever reason. So, before we get really far, and a lot of people basically, like, have shit to do because apparently my episodes are, like, against Blackish and, like, a few other, like, TV shows, which is understandable. I wanted to share the behind-the-scenes that I recorded of you.
Yeah.
So you haven't really seen much of it. You just saw what I sent you on email, which were the ads, basically. Okay. It's perfectly fine. I think you look amazing and gorgeous and, like, you're a badass person. I'm more, like, concerned of my editing skills because I've never been taught editing. So, like, let me just wing it and see what I create. I've realized, too, after recording you and Steven, going back to those videos, I talk so much. Like, and even to the point where, like, with Steven's, I felt like I was just talking naturally, like a normal human being would. But for a person being behind the scenes and recording it, there's moments where Steven is saying something, and then I immediately say, oh, yeah. And then I can't cut it because there's a weird me saying, oh yeah, in the middle of it. So it's like, damn it. Okay, now I just need to not talk and be that awkward, like, antisocial person at these shoots. So I'm going to play it. It won't have the sound, but I will pull up the video itself, actually. here so you can actually hear it, and then everyone will see our well, at least your reaction to it, but they'll also be able to see the behind the scenes. Everyone on Instagram, on Claire's as well as mine, if you're really interested in seeing the behind the scenes, wait until at least tomorrow. I'll post it on my YouTube account, and then you can also just go back and watch it on the recording itself, or you can go on Twitch right now and watch it immediately live. So you have options. I'm not forcing you to do anything, or you don't have to watch it all. Actually, that's also an option. Forgot about that one. It's up to you. All right, let's see. I've also had to learn how to like organize better, and I don't think I'm there yet, but I'm getting better at it. Okay, behind the scenes. Don't play it.
Should I lean over here?
No, I will turn it towards you, but just give me a second to kind of get my life in order. All right, so might be a little off, so hopefully it won't be too bad. So let me turn it around. So this is literally what I see. Okay, so ready?
Yes.
They're gonna start first, and then we'll start right after. Let me turn this down actually, just in case, so they don't really have to hear us too much.
You're gonna just have 5,000 shots of me go. You might cut yourself. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
can't get a good.
This is what the podcast is going to be.
I love it when those moments happen where it's literally like a silly moment, and I can actually, especially with the behind the scenes and doing these editings, I'm like, please let there be like a little silly moment or like a montage or something that I can add. Because with Stevens, so Stevens was the first time I've ever actually edited a video. Well, aside from like my podcast, and those usually I just click, grab, and then post. Honestly, I don't really do much editing to it. So Stevens, on the other hand, was the first time I actually really had to get involved with it, and I learned so much. But when there was a moment where we were in the car and we were driving to Joann's Fabrics, and we were talking about me being vegetarian or technically pescatarian because I'm about to eat shrimp. But he's just like, oh, okay. He's like, well, you know, I like meat all in my mouth and stuff like that. And so I'm recording him during this moment, and I'm like trying not to laugh. And of course he like realized what just happened, and so we had like a little laugh. And so at the end of the behind the scenes, I added that little commentary because I just thought like putting moments like those, and like with yours, even with the burrito, or you mentioning about the silly faces you'll make, or even like watch out, you'll cut yourself, like moments like that, it just makes the behind the scenes a lot better because it shows these people's personalities when things like that happens. So if anyone has questions on those behind the scene video, feel free to ask. Again, Instagram, go on Twitter, at me questions, or if Claire wants to get up, she can do by all means. She's not restricted to the chair. And then same with everyone on Twitch. If you have any questions, feel free to start asking. But with the behind the scenes, tell me, how did that shoot even come alive, basically?
Yeah, so that was a portfolio update shoot. So basically, I reached out and I was looking to do that shoot. So I got the photographer and the makeup artist together. So a lot of people don't realize that models can do that. I also styled the entire shoot myself. So I spoke at length with Ben about what I was looking to get out of the shoot, what I was planning to do with the images. I was looking into going into agencies in Chicago at that time, so we were actually putting a really heavy focus on editorial, like lifestyle modeling. So lifestyle is like a model who is under 5'8", so we were really trying to show both my physique and my height. So yeah, we had planned that for about 3.5 weeks before we got to
really?
it. Mm-hmm.
And how did you find Ben and Cassandra?
Both of them through Instagram.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, there is like a little Facebook group of photo people that Cassandra and I had kind of seen each other, but we had all been following each other probably for 6 months before any of us talked.
Oh, man. Yeah. And it's funny because I arrived at the behind the scenes not knowing Ben at all, and knowing you for the brief moments that we've hung out for a bit. And then I think either you told me or I didn't even know until I got in the car or even got there. But then Cassandra, I've actually worked with Cassandra a couple times. Yeah. Once was actually with Chorusai. And actually that was the first time I've actually worked with Cassandra, was with Chorusai. And so seeing her there and then like having you and doing the behind the scenes, I was like, my world is colliding like in a fantastic way. And it's cool like to see creatives that you know getting together and working with each other. And I'm sure you've had moments where you've possibly like ran across somebody you knew with somebody that is new to you, or along those lines.
Yeah, I work in like a small retail shop, and a girl came in one day, and then later on a photographer texted me and said, hey, I'm shooting this girl that was just in your shop earlier today. And it was just like, Detroit is so small, everybody knows everybody.
So like even talking about Detroit itself, what is your thoughts on the modeling and photography community in the city?
Very small. There's not much going on, really. There's a lot more push on style and fashion right now, and there are some up-and-coming models and some good photographers, but the majority is a push for retail with the redevelopment of the city, and a push for like style bloggers and stylish people and so-called influencers. But really, in terms of like modeling opportunities and paid castings, it's like so few and far between, as I'm sure that you know too.
So do you, and I definitely do know, do you have to find yourself traveling a lot to kind of compensate the lack here in the city?
Yeah, so in October, in September, I started traveling so much. So I've been to Chicago twice, Philadelphia twice. I went to LA, I went to Toronto, Ontario. I've just been all over doing some paid work and then also like building up a portfolio in that sense as well.
Do you like that direction as far as constantly traveling like that?
I like it, but I see some people that I know, like some other models who are just constantly able to work in their cities, and I am so envious of them. And if everyone doesn't know, I know Shima knows, like, I'm moving to Philadelphia in 3 weeks.
Woo! We're gonna lose her!
And I'm so excited about that. There's just like hundreds and hundreds of photographers and so many models out there just working every single day.
And you're also kind of quick direction to like New York City, which is even huger.
Yeah, it's an hour and a half to train ride to New York, so
Yeah.
it's possible to go into castings, to work with photographers there. So I'm really excited.
See, and it's interesting for me because I started my career in Austin, Texas, and then moved to Florida, in Sarasota, fucking Florida, and don't go there. Just, I mean, you go vacation-wise, but otherwise, don't go to the live. But I lived there for a couple years, and then finally found myself in Detroit. And out of all those cities, I appreciate Detroit because of how close it is to other major cities.
Yeah.
And like in comparison to Texas, especially in Austin, it being the central of Texas, you have to travel at least a good 3 to 4 hours to get anywhere outside of the state.
Right.
And same with Florida, where I lived in Florida, Atlanta was a 6-hour drive, and the only thing closer was like Miami. But that their genre of modeling wasn't really what I wanted to put a lot of effort towards, and so having Detroit as an option for me was good. But hearing about you and going to Philly, that sounds amazing, especially how close you will be to like a big city.
Yeah, it's so centrally located also because there's like Boston,
that's
Baltimore, and New York, and New Jersey is right there too, so I'm excited about it.
So what made you choose Philly out of all the cities and states and even countries?
Yeah, well, it really is similar to Detroit in the vibe, and it has this really like grunge fashion vibe that I really, really love about it. Of course, the proximity to New York, but I'm also vegan, and there's a really great vegan and also feminist scene in Philly, so I'm excited about both of those things.
Yeah, it's nice that you get an option and choices like that. And I wanted to actually talk to you about vegan and like your transition to that. I don't imagine you were born and raised vegan, were you?
No, not at all. No, I grew up in a big Catholic family where we ate a lot of meat, a lot of pork, and so much lamb.
Oh my gosh. Does that sound like hearing or even seeing people eat meat? Does that upset you, or are you more of the like casual, like, okay, as long as it's not going in my body?
It depends on the day sometimes.
Oh, really?
Sometimes it can irritate me, but mostly it just kind of grosses me out at this point. And if you stop eating anything, I mean, even if you stopped eating yogurt for 3 years, you'll see people eating yogurt and you'll be like, what's going on?
I'm sure you rolled your eyes when I picked shrimp instead of tofu for fried rice. No, because me and Francis have tried. We're working on it, and I would love to be vegan, but that's a huge task, especially when you want to go out and socialize. Because especially in Detroit, there's not that many options. There's like what 4 to 5 restaurants in Detroit that is actually vegan.
Yeah.
It's not really vegetarian as well. And so we started actually because Detroit Vegan Soul was doing like this New Year month, like turn vegan basically.
Yeah.
And so I've always talked to Francis in regards to turning into vegetarian or like eating vegetarian, but I never really knew how to, and I was always worried, especially like trying to fit macros and protein content and all those fun things. And so having Detroit Vegan Soul offer that for a month, I'm like, okay, this is a good opportunity for me to like actually really try it. And so I try my hardest to be vegetarian at least. There are times like Francis got dinner and the fried rice I really love is with shrimp, and then this one that I don't care for is with tofu. I'm like, I really just want the fried rice though. So sometimes I'll get as close as being pescatarian, have fish here and there randomly, while Francis decided he will be pescatarian. I guess cutting himself off with fish completely was just uninteresting to him. And have you ever had moments where you really are like craving a certain meat or fish or poultry item?
I don't really like crave crave it from like a food standpoint. Sometimes I crave it from like an emotional standpoint because you just have those like soul foods that you're comfort foods that you're used to eating. So like in December, I worked in retail. It was a super stressful retail day, and they had bought a pizza for our whole staff in the back, and I was just like, oh my god, this is like so much going on. I'm so hungry. So I just ate a piece of pizza because it was right there, and I was like, it's just one piece, I'll be fine. And I was sick for 2.5 days.
I've heard things like that.
Really, really sick, and people don't believe me, and I'm like, no, I honestly like was to the point where I was gonna have to go to the hospital if it was a little bit worse, because I was just like dehydrated. And there's other times where I don't intentionally eat meat or fish, but it will be like on the fryer or something at a restaurant, and then I'll be sick from food poisoning from accidentally having contamination.
Holy shit.
But yeah, after that time with the pizza, I haven't been back since December. I do once in a while cheat on sweets because I love desserts, and if there's like a little bit of milk chocolate, it can slide, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's nice and almost like makes me feel a little at ease just hearing a full-on vegan saying I may like indulge in something, not obviously like a full-on meat meal or anything, but and then hearing also the consequences that may happen from indulging a little too much, because I've heard those too, as well. And I even think Francis had a moment where he was strictly being vegetarian for I think that month, and then he ate like something accidentally or whatever the case may have been. He's like, I feel really shitty right now. Like this is actually like true from what we've heard, that and it, especially I think also it comes from when you don't let your body eat a certain thing every meal or every week or something, and you kind of deprive, I feel like deprive is the wrong word, but you kind of deprive it for a while, and then putting that back in, your body's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? Like, this is weird.
You lose the enzymes, and like, well, when you're born, everyone has like these enzymes for breastfeeding, right? And you can take in, like, you have 100% dairy enzymes. By the time you're 2, you only have like 10%, and then it just decreases as you go on. So if you stop eating dairy for a year, your body completely doesn't have any enzymes to break it down at all.
Oh, man, it's always interesting hearing things along those lines, because I'm not full-on vegetarian, but I also am not, I've dabbled, like I'll try, if I'm cooking dinner here or food here, I'll try to be vegan. But if it's going out somewhere, I'm like, I'm not going to really pressure myself yet, because I'm still early. It's only been like 5 months technically that I've been vegetarian, pescatarian, kind of transition, so I'm kind of like being a little bit lenient and like realizing, okay, I don't want to buy those frozen vegan patties and eat that all the time, because because that's technically not even good for you. On top of that, I'm sure the sodium content is like ridiculously high.
That's true.
So we have about like 8 minutes left. I kind of want to play a game because I kind of just like things like that, and I feel like it's gonna be fun and everything exciting. So again, everyone on Instagram, if you really want to see what's happening on my screen and what Claire's witnessing, you gotta get on Twitch, or you're just gonna have to wait until I post the video on YouTube. So I'm sorry, but not sorry. That's your problem, not mine. Anyways, all right. So Claire, let me let me do this again. So this is going to be a game that me and Francis play randomly, sometimes here and there, but it's a YouTube video, and I'm sure you may have heard of it, but it's basically, the concept is try not to laugh.
Oh no.
Are you easy? Obviously, right before we start, I'm the same way. So I got some random video on YouTube, and I keep grabbing this mouse, but I found some random video on YouTube, and we're gonna give it a shot. I did have to watch a couple moments of it just to see if it was even worth it. So I kind of already know how it's gonna begin, but otherwise, you're in for a treat. So where did I even put that thing? I don't even know where I put it. Okay, here it is. Good thing it's titled like that. And it's a kid version, so maybe kids don't make you laugh as much as like dogs do or so. But we're gonna give this a shot. Okay, you ready? Let me make sure that everything is good to go. Let me turn these down actually, just in case. So just in case you bust out so hard laughing that it's not screaming in people's ears. Okay, so they're gonna start.
Good job. Good job.
After 1 hour of trying to put Adam to sleep. Adam, no. Come here. Adam, no. Come here.
too. But I think we should see just a couple more because it's always good to laugh. Right? I've tried to do handstands. It's not easy.
Don't write on that. Don't write on that.
Some of these like makes me want to just have a kid so I can just laugh at them. Honestly. Oh, poor baby. Oh, this is sad.
Oh no!
All your dreams just disappear. Denied. I feel like that with the Kira sometimes. She'll go straight to Francis instead of me.
Got that one on video. Got that one on video.
This could go, I don't even know how long, this is long, 15 minutes.
I only called you in
There,
a
you at least that's pretty epic, I will say at least. Because when Steven came, what did oh, he had to guess theme songs. Would you have been good with that?
Not at all, no.
Like he had to guess Full House and what's the one with Urkel? Family Matters, and then like Fresh Prince and like Dexter's Laboratory and a few other random ones. He actually did a pretty good from what like, because me and Francis took a bet. Francis thought he would at least get 5 out of 10 right, and I thought he would at least get 8. And so I'm like, at least like don't let Francis get to you. Like get at least more than 5, and he did. He got 8 at least, and it tricked him because he thought Full House's theme song was Family Matters. Which, if you ever have a moment, check out Full House and Family Matters. It's literally the exact theme song. It's like no joke, but.
It's like Vanilla Ice and Under Pressure.
Yeah, exactly. And like, well, yeah, those times too, they steal songs or at least the beat from each other. I'm trying to think. The last thing I honestly actually am very curious for other people to, well, 2 things actually. One is, who's your inspiration, especially when it comes to modeling?
So I have like a role model. I absolutely love all of her work, and she's one of the people I was looking into before I was even modeling, and her page is Rory Young.
Oh yeah, Rory! Yes.
She's so amazing. I love her work, and if you guys don't know about her, she actually doesn't have an apartment or anything. She just travels all year round, modeling all over the world, Mongolia, Australia, everywhere. She's just always on the go.
I envy the models that literally get to go to other countries too. Like I would love, I've technically been to other countries, not including Canada. That does not count for Detroiters, but going to overseas, to Europe or Asia or even Australia, it's like I feel like I would rather just have somebody with me versus me just going it solo. But hearing other traveling models and like just taking that plunge and just fucking doing it.
Sounds so stressful, but
Yeah,
I hope
sure.
one day.
Yeah, you'll do it. You'll be in Philly and you'll have cheaper flights out there. I'm glad at myself for remembering to check Twitter. If you're on Instagram, go on Twitter now. I'm checking it at this second. Otherwise, I only have 1 question on Twitter for you. Question for Claire, and this is from Travis Boyce. He's the one I actually forgot last time with Steven, so I feel glad that I saw this now. Question for Claire. Given both of her backgrounds, what politician would make the best model? Ooh, that's a really good one.
Ooh, okay, I don't know if she counts as a politician, and this is like a really obvious choice, but Michelle Obama.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she has an amazing body, and we need more minority models, and we need more like really fit lady models. So
Yeah.
I think she'd be awesome, and also she's like my arm goals. So.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh my god. And like seeing her and what she did with health and fitness and kids and all of the great things she put on for our country, and of course now we're dealt with the hand we've dealt with now, but I'm not getting into that serious politics. Again, everyone, if you're on Twitter, go for it right now before you miss your opportunity. Last but not least, I'm kind of bummed I didn't get to record this moment, but you mentioned that you have grooming days.
Yeah, so we didn't do a behind the scenes day of that, but Just because there can be so much like maintenance and hygiene and like always being ready and prepared to do shoots, and then talking about like having my hair done and everything. I choose one day about every 5 weeks that I just do all of my grooming responsibilities. So that can include actually going and buying like makeup and going and buying some new clothes for styling. I actually sell some clothes that I'm done with on that day too. I also do a Brazilian and get my eyebrows done and get my hair done all on the same day. So I just plan it all out, and it's way easier for me to schedule, and it helps me like really minimize the amount of time that I'm spending like grooming myself.
Yeah.
As opposed to just like constantly doing it all the time.
So do you do it a certain time every month, or is it just depending on that month and you're like, oh, okay, I'll make this day the grooming for
it's
waxing?
About like 5.5 weeks, so it kind of like transitions every month, you know, gets a little bit further in, but it's been really good. It also, like, you know, all of those things are really expensive, and I just wasn't able, like, financially to budget it in when it was so sporadic, so I know how much it costs, and I do it, like, on that day, and I can make sure I have, like, that just built into my monthly budget.
Here are my goals. Seriously, I need to probably do something along those lines, because my biggest splurge, honestly, because I'm very frugal as best as I can, is thrift shopping. That's the only time I will get a little bit more like, oh, let me just throw out all this money away. But it's funny because me and Francis do it sporadic. Like, we just randomly like, what are we doing today? Yeah, nothing. Let's go to Value World, or let's go to Salvation Army Roll for a quick bit. And it's always so random. And I'll grab random clothes here and there, or just knickknacks. But when you told me about your grooming days, I'm like, Francis, we need to do like a set schedule of when we do thrift shops.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like it would just help so much better, especially like with budgeting and just knowing your schedule in the first place. But yeah, I feel like that's it for me. Let me check Twitter real fast just to see. Okay, Travis Boyce is on a roll. His question is actually for me. Shima, what is your dream country to model in? My dream country in general is honestly just Japan. I want to go to Japan and live there if I could, but probably wouldn't. So I would love to go to Japan. What about yourself, Claire? What is a country you just want to be in general?
Oh my god. So I don't know if it's for modeling or not, but I really want to go to Dubai. It just seems like so cool. There's so much development going on there. But I think my next like big trip for modeling would be Mexico City. So
Ooh.
I have a friend down there, so hopefully I'll be able to.
Yeah, were you mentioning like you were gonna either possibly even move to Mexico City?
Yeah, I think that might be like a move in the future.
Okay, I was in my head. I'm like, was that Claire or was that somebody random?
Yeah, it just seems like it's so big. I'm really attracted to big cities, so it's the next move.
I agree with it. Well, everyone, thanks for tuning in. And Claire, seriously, I appreciate you like taking the time out of your busy day and saving an hour worth for me and everyone on the podcast. And hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully I asked good questions and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so much fun. This was great.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yay! All right, everyone on Twitch, that is a wrap. I am glad OBS did not shut down on me, because that would be literally a sad story. But it all worked out. High five, because it all worked out. I'm so happy, honestly. I'm like, this ended up being awesome. All right, guys. Everyone, see you until next time. Toodles.